All right, guys, we are back for Chapter 6, Poison in the Colony. Thank you to Penguin and Viking Publishing for allowing me to read this and post online for you. Here we go. Chapter 6. April 1617. I am 7.5 years old. My mother sends me to the river to dig for mussels, and so I am one of the first to see it. A ship on the horizon. Soon there are calls throughout the fort. Ship ashore! Ship ashore! People come wandering toward the docks. We are all running low on our food stores, and so there are high hopes for what this ship might bring. We are also expecting the return of Captain Argall, who is to take over as governor. Even my mother comes to the docks with little Alice toddling along, holding her hand. I go to Alice and scoop her up. See, it's a ship, I say. A big boat. Bah, says Alice. It'll have peas and beans for you to eat, and barley, lots of barley, I tell her. Bah, she says. Suddenly, someone shouts, It's the treasurer! It must be John, Rolfe, and Rebecca and Thomas coming home. People begin to chatter with excitement. They met the king. They must have been invited to balls and plays and masks. I hope she found Captain Smith. Ah, the stories we'll hear about their year in England. My stomach twists into a knot. I know that when the treasurer lands, it will bring bad news instead of joy. My mother is staring at me. Are you not happy to see Rebecca again? She asks. There is a challenge in her voice, and I know that she is somehow suspicious. But how could she be? I've never said one word about the knowing to anyone but Samuel. I quickly put on a smile, though it feels as if it reaches only my mouth and not my eyes. Yes, I'm very happy, I say. We'll hear stories about England. My words catch in my throat and I have to look away. Before the ship's arrival, I could still imagine her alive and well. But soon, everyone will know what I have known for a year. My mother will not let it rest. She takes hold of my face and turns me toward her. There is fear in her eyes. She shakes her head slightly and whispers, Oh, child, no. My mother and I stand next to each other among settlers, giddy with excitement, grimly awaiting the bad news that we both now expect. It was worse than even I knew. Samuel comes to our cottage for supper, and after our meal, he and my father sit talking in hushed voices. Matachana and Tomokomo say she was perfectly well when she left to have dinner with Captain Argall and her husband. They say she must have been poisoned. She died within hours of coming back from dinner, says Samuel. My father shakes his head sadly, and Captain Argall insists it was illness. One thing is for certain, Samuel says. Captain Argall will never be punished if he did murder her with poison at that dinner. His only accusers are not English citizens. We may never know the truth, my father says. Samuel glances over at me as though the knowing would give me details any time I ask it. I scowl at him. All I know is that Rebecca is gone, and now there are 2 motherless boys. Her son with Kocoam living in one of the Indian villages, and little Thomas left back in England to be raised by John Rolfe's brother. Samuel lowers his voice and thinks I can't hear. He says to my father, How long do you think the peace will last with her gone? My mother has been agitated and sullen all afternoon. Did she care so much for Rebecca that she is now grieving? She gathers our soiled clothes into a bundle. Virginia, come help me with this washing, she says. Then she plops Alice onto my father's lap and leads me out the door. What a strange time to do laundry, I think, in the evening when the drying sun is almost down, and my mother loves to gossip with the other women while we wash. At this hour, there won't be anyone else there. I follow her obediently. When we reach the river, all is quiet except for the spring peepers chirping. I decide to wash Alice's clothes first, as they are the dirtiest. I tie up my skirt and wade into the water. The chill makes me shiver. Suddenly, my mother's hands are upon me, yanking me down, pushing me under water. I struggle, kick, try to pull her hands away. She pushes harder, her weight holding me under. Air! Air! Breathe! I dig my fingernails into her hands and claw the skin away. She screams and lets go. I am up, heaving in a breath, water dripping into my eyes. I see my mother's face. Terror. She reaches for me again, pushes me hard. I fall, and she is upon me, holding me under. A clear, cold thought enters my mind. She is killing me. Darkness crowds my vision. I go limp. She pulls me up out of the river and shakes me hard. I cough and sputter. My mother is sobbing now. I am too exhausted and confused to run from her. Her hands are bleeding where I clawed them. She reaches out to hold my face in her palms. I flinch when she touches me. I feel her love. It has not changed. I feel her love for me and her fear of something terrible. It is fear that has made her do this to me. She wants me to be just as afraid as she is. You must kill it in yourself, Virginia, she says. Do you understand me? You must kill it, or they will kill you. They will torture you to get a confession, hang you by your thumbs until the pain is so great you will tell them whatever they want to hear. Then they will strangle you, cut off your air just like when you were under the river, but they will not let go the way I did. When you are dead, they will burn your body and spit on your ashes. She takes a shivery breath and seems to be staring right through me. In a small voice, she says, "That is what they did to your grandmother." I shake my head hard. I don't want to hear these terrible things. My mother continues, "You saw what they did to me and Jane Wright. What was our sin? To know about healing and herbs? That I tried to help that dying gentle woman? Because Jane delivered a baby who did not survive? That gentleman found out why they did to what they did to my mother in England. He decided I must be suspect as well. All it takes is one gentleman or nobleman, or even a yeoman, to cast suspicion, Virginia, and out comes the whip, or the strangling cord, and the fire pyre." Your mother knew healing and herbs? I began. I'm afraid to ask what else was the cause of her tortured death. The death of a convicted witch. Mom nods. Yes, she was a healer. She looks into my eyes. And she had the gift of the second sight. My whole body begins to shake. My mother wraps her arm around me and guides me out of the river. She sits with me on a fallen log and rocks me in her embrace. I call it the knowing, I say in a small voice. That's what Samuel named it. I feel her body stiffen. Samuel knows? Yes, I say, but no one else. He told me never to tell anyone. She relaxes. We must not even tell your father. He is already worried that the second sight will be passed from my mother through me and on to our daughters. That is one of the reasons he is always hoping for a son. She kisses the top of my head. Kill it in yourself, Virginia. Promise me you will do that? I promise, I say. I don't know how I'll do it, but for her safety and mine, I know I must. And that was chapter 6. We are getting into the second part of the book, poison. Stay tuned next week. We'll pick up. Bye.